everyone, I've got an overwhelming urge to do a geode, and I thought this time we'd do a set. And I've got some things to show you. First of all, I've got some beautiful products from Create and Bloom. As some of you will know, I've been getting a bit carried away with the Create and Bloom products lately. So we have those. We've got our geode shapes from Just For You Online, along with some floating silver, some supreme white and some white shimmer, all very well used tubs from Just For You Online. And the other thing we've got is my little set of crystals. Well, say crystals, they're glass. These will be in the shop soon in my Mini Scenes store. We've got little tiny crystally bits. There's a crystal AB. These are the sort of thing you can normally only buy as huge sets, massive bags, and so you'd end up with like lots of bits, you know, so you'd end up with a load that you might not be using. So I thought I'd bag up some little kits with an assortment of different sizes of glass, and it is all glass. There's no acrylic in here or anything. There's some chunky ones. Then there's some, again, a different size. This has got the AB in it, so we've got all different sizes, so you can layer your crystals up. And this is, I think they call it diamond glass. Looks like glitter, but it's actually glass, little glass flakes. Fantastic, isn't it? Anyway, so we're going to be playing with all of that. But what I'm going to do as I create these geodes is show you two different ways of making your crystally 3D textured areas. So let's get stuck in. So first little job is going to be to paint the back of these with some latex, which has just reminded me I've got one ready done here. This side looks as if it could have done with another coat, but that doesn't matter. That's just acrylic paint, by the way. But yeah, look, I've already painted the back of that one with latex, so let's substitute. Oh, it's a bit bigger as well. Let's substitute, and we'll paint the back of this little one with latex. I'll just show you how I do that. It's pretty straightforward, to be honest. So I'm going to use the side that's got the branding from Just For You Online, the Apex Resin branding on it, and we're going to get some liquid latex. Here it is. It's the Polycraft one, and we're going to put it in a pot. We're going to paint it on. Now I tend to do a couple of layers. Now this is purely to protect the back, so that you don't get any dribbles running down onto the actual piece, which makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? You don't want dribbles. And we're just going to use a little paintbrush to paint it on. Now, I will be able to get this out of my paintbrush afterwards with my Wonder Wipes. So don't go stressing about my poor paintbrush, because yeah, it is quite a new one. To be fair, I do usually use older paintbrushes for this sort of thing. So all we're doing is protecting the back of our little geode piece. Did I do around the edges of this one? No, I didn't. So I'll probably do around the edges of it. I'm not going to worry about the edge in the centre because we're going to be sticking crystals into there. So we probably do want our colour to run down there. And you might want to stick crystals all around the outer edge, or, I don't know, do something. You might want the colour to run over as well. And in which case, don't worry about protecting the edges. But with these I am going to, because I want to get like a nice neat edge to them. So I'm just going to go around like so and put a coat on that. 2 coats I do usually, because it makes it easier to get the latex off afterwards if it's nice and thick. Now you can use PVA for this, but it takes, because you're putting the PVA on quite thick to actually work, then you end up having to leave it for a couple of days to cure completely before you can do it. And then of course PVA dries like a hard plastic, whereas this stuff is more pliable, so it's just a lot easier to use. But I know not everybody's going to want to invest in a big bottle of latex. I use it for all sorts of things. It's quite handy for mould making and for making inlays and all sorts of things like that, so I've always got some in stock. So that's all we're going to do, and I'm going to leave it a few hours and until that's cured. Just going to make sure I've got none on, you can see that's drying already. Just going to make sure I've got none on this upper surface, because that is going to be our working surface, isn't it, for I snow all over my mat. The other nice thing about latex is it doesn't like silicone, so it won't stick to anything silicone, like this mat. You can let it dry and peel it off. Anyway, there you go. I'm going to put these both up on a little stand like this, just to stop it going all over the mat again. and I'll see you in, I don't know, a couple of hours, something like that. The latex takes varying amounts of time to cure, so yeah, we'll just see how long it takes. I might put my heat lamp on above it. And I use Wonder Wipes to clean my brush. I get pretty much anything off anything. Not totally, but you know, of all the stuff I use, they seem to work for pretty much anything. And there we go. I've got some Wonder Wipes spray as well. Sometimes I'll soak my brushes in that. But I don't know where it is at the moment. It might be in the kitchen. It gets used for everything. There we are. Right. So, our little crystal pieces. Let me move my camera down here. We've got this little kit, as I said, it's got all these different sizes in it. And all we're going to want to do is get an old mould. That's an old one that's a bit past it, look. It doesn't matter too much about, so we're going to need that. And we're going to need some ultraviolet curing resin. So I'm just going to get some gloves organised. Whilst UV isn't as dangerous as regular resin, it is messy. Some people do get allergic reactions to it. And of course, if it cures on your hands, I don't know if I'm going to make you jump, because it gets very hot when it cures. So I suggest you put gloves on. And also, I don't want to get it on my nicely new manicure. Right, so there are two methods for putting our crystals onto our geode pieces. You can either, as you're doing your colours, you can add the crystals, do it actually onto the piece, or you could start making them beforehand, which I quite like doing because it's fun. That's all there is to it, it's fun. So I've got some Apex UV resin here. I've got one of my new toys. These are neat. It's quite powerful, little UV lamp, and you just plug it in when you want to charge it. And as you can hear, it's metal. And does that and that and that. So should we try it? Not really used it for this before, so let's give it a go. Anyway, so what we do is we start off by deciding what kind of shapes we want our crystally pieces. Now this is where it's sometimes easier to do it straight onto your geode piece or whatever it is you're working with, because you know what shape it is. But I'm going to show you this anyway, because I might do some, well I'm going to show you both ways. I'm going to do some straight onto the board and some not. So we're going to get out some of our pieces and we're going to make maybe two. So these are chunky, these are a type of fireglass, and yeah, let's make two good size ones like this. So these are the chunky bits. So start with your chunky bits first. You're going to get, this is where you get your shape from that you're going to want your crystals to be in. And do I get some tweezers? That might be a good idea, mightn't it? Let's get some tweezers. These are rubber tipped tweezers, which makes life a lot easier because stuff grips. And I'm going to stack them a little bit, layer them up a little bit. Let's give it a bit of height. So, like so. And hang on, where are we? Like that. So we're giving them a little bit of height, a little bit of irregularity. Now all we're going to do is, let me just make sure it's that shot. There we are. What we're going to do is go over them with a little bit of UV resin. We're going to just drizzle it in between them and let it spill down a little bit. You're making like a little dam round it as well as you go. As you can imagine, if you leave this to run through for a second, you're going to get quite a nice fixed base, as well as having created that little dam around it. So now we're going to cure those. Doesn't need to be 100% cured, but you do want it all firmed up to stop the resin moving and to just hold them in place. Goodness, that's sticking already. This little light's good. It was really cheap as well. I'll put you the link for everything down in the video description below, of course. These little glass packs will be in stock in the new year. Subject to demand. Let me know what you think, people. I know Lou from Create and Bloom has just put a video out on these. She seems impressed with this as a little kit. So yeah, let me know what you think. Right, that should do. And you work down your sizes. This is the easiest way to do it, I find. So I'm just going to put a few of these next size down bits. And there's one that's a little bit yellowish in there. I'll save that for when I'm doing a gold one. They do vary a little bit, to be fair. And what you don't want is everything the same, isn't it? It kind of makes a lot of sense to have that variation. You want it to look kind of natural, don't you? So what I'm doing is I'm just carrying on round the shape, carrying it out to the ends a little bit so that I can then put these pieces in. It's quite a big one actually there, isn't it? Let's put it at the end here. As you can see, these are generally smaller. See, because we're trying to get kind of like an organic look. And this is basically the same process as we will be using when we go working straight onto the actual piece. But it's just a different way of doing it, and it's quite satisfying. And it's something you can do while your latex is drying too. So that's our next size down. Then we have our next size down. You don't have to use them all, of course. I mean, I'm going the full Monty here. So our next size down, which I am going to sprinkle. Actually, no, let's get some more resin on there first. So what I'm doing is I'm zigzagging, so I go in between the crystals a little bit. And I haven't cured in between this side, so there's quite a lot of resin going on there. And these ones have got a little bit of that AB, you know, the Aurora Borealis colour shift in them. So they are quite a nice addition, and you can just tip them straight from the bag. Be careful, otherwise you'll end up with it everywhere. So we're starting to get some real sparkle going on here, as you can see. I'm going to do a bit of rearranging. And some people go for the mirror finish glass underneath first, which you can do. By the way, if I do put these kits in my shop, which I think I'm going to be doing, because people do seem to be interested so far anyway. If you want a slight variation on it, like you want some of the glass to be have a little bit of a pink tint to it, or a purple tint, or something like that, I can do that. You just need to, I'm not going to list all the colours, but because most people I think are going to want just the nice plain crystal like this. But if you did want one of the packs, the small packs, to have a colour tint to it, let me know. Or if you wanted like the mirror effect, I've got all sorts anyway, so you just need to email me and I can make it up for you. Right, we're going even smaller now with the crystal AB ones, and again I'm just going to sprinkle. And we've got plenty of UV resin in here now, so these should just stick where we want them to. And what I'm going to do is get a little paintbrush and just push them into place a bit. I think that might be easier than using the tweezers now we're getting into the small stuff. And then the finishing touch, you will not believe the difference the finishing touch makes. It's that those fine glass flakes, the diamond glass is what it's called. So this is looking pretty sparkly already. Let's cure it off a bit. In fact, no, let's not. Let's not. I'm going to lift it up carefully, and so you can see the sparkle starting to build. So they're looking nice, aren't they? Incidentally, these geodes that we're going to be making today are going to be kind of like a wintry, frosty... Is it blue lace agate I'm thinking of? Very sort of pale. I normally do really quite dramatic, deep colours, but I'm going pale this time. And it's going to be like winter. Look at the difference that's made. Now, there's obviously going to be some in my little mould here that I can shake off and put back into my little bag. But the additional sparkle that causes, it's just, and it's better than glitter because it's just clear, it just sparkles, which, yeah, you can get glitter that does that too, and by all means use glitter. You can use all sorts, can't you? But I like the fact that this is all glass. It's not glitter. There's something about that, isn't there? So I'm going to let these cure off fully, and then we'll peel them off and I'll show you what we've got. Right, here we go then. And off it pops. And there you've got a perfect flat-backed little geode. So just shake off any bits that are loose, and that is ready to go. Isn't that nice? Look at the sparkle. So let's put that to one side. Let's get the other one. And then what I do is I shake all these bits into an all sorts pot. So I've always got a little pot of all sorts of random bits of glass and sparkle. Look at the sparkle in there. Isn't that nice? Anyway, let's put those two to one side. I'm going to put this to one side. You can see all these loose bits. I'm just going to get my paintbrush, clean them all off, and pop them in my all sorts pot. Right, I'll be back later and we will start on the actual geodes with the colours, and I will then show you how we can work straight onto the pieces with our crystals instead. Right, I'll see you in a bit. So I'm back just doing the edges. There's another thing I meant to mention. People often use masking tape, or you know, that transfer tape that you use for stickers and things with your Cricut machine at the back, and your vinyl cuts, that sort of thing. Anything that you can basically stick on to protect will work. It's just a bit fiddlier, whereas I find this nice and easy. Probably be a lot easier if it was for, like a normal geometric shape, of course, but it isn't. So So there we go. That should have protected around the edges. Right, I'll be back in a bit. Just going to let that cure up. Okay, all of our latex is now dried, and what I've done is I've propped these up on some paper cups. Now what I've done is I've put the little paper cups so that you can, so that there's a void down through to, you know, they're not underneath the hole in the middle, and that's so that any drips can just go straight through. And yeah, it's going to make a mess of my mat. It always does. But of course, you know, resin, it peels straight off your pretty silicone mats. So what we're going to do before I get all my gloves and everything organised is just show you that how easy it is now. Once you've got your little pieces made like that, you can just plonk them straight onto your piece. And I'm going to overhang the hole in the centre just slightly. And all we need to do is, and I will be getting my gloves back out in a sec, but for now, I'm just going to seal this down with a bit of ultraviolet curing resin, just sticking it on. And like I said, I am overhanging the hole in the centre because I want the kind of the light to come through. So I'm just overhanging slightly. So next step obviously is get some resin mixed up. Now the resin I'm going to be using is Apex 1 Coat. This is it. It's very thick and it cures fast, so it's absolutely perfect for making geodes. I invariably end up mixing up way more than I probably need when I'm doing this, and the simple reason for that is I don't want to be having to, this stuff cures really quick. I don't want to be having to try to mix up some more while it's curing so fast. So yeah, I mix up more than I need, but have moulds on standby so that none goes to waste. I've always got something, little gifts for people who buy from my store, things like that. I've usually got, there we go, I've usually got moulds for that sort of thing on standby for all little extras. Right, we're going to stir it up. Now this stuff is thick. Now when I say thick, this is what I mean. Look at that, it's like really thick treacle. I can see my stirrer bending as I stir, and as a result I do tend to get a lot of bubbles in it because I stir too quickly, but it's, yeah, it's awesome stuff. It really is thick. So I'm just going to carry on stirring. Now I could warm it up, I could put it through my warming machine, which I do use a lot. It's the Let Resin one. I want this to stay thick. That is my problem. It needs to stay thick. And what we're going to be doing next is decanting this into lots of different little cups to make up our different colours. Okay, I don't know how many colours exactly I'm going to need here. I'll definitely need some clear. So we're going to put a bit in each pot. I can keep some clear back, of course. All those lovely colours I put together, I don't know how much of each I'm going to use yet. But I'm just putting a small amount in each pot. So what we can do with the leftovers. We can make one of my frogs, can't we, if there's any leftovers. Floating silver, but I'm only going to mix up a bit of that, and I've got a bit of clear left in my pot. So let's have a look at our colours. First one I know I'm going to need is some Supreme White. I find I always need white in a geode, and I want a really nice opaque white, so I'm using this really thick, look at that, really thick paste from Just For You online. It is, I always need a lot of white, so let's put in this one because there's more in it. It's really intense, so you only need the tiniest little bit, and as you can see, that is already making it opaque, and I do want it opaque. So there's our white. Right, put the lid back on, clean my stick, that to one side. Next one, I'm invariably going to want some white shimmer as well. And again, this is a pigment paste, so it's very heavily pigmented. So I'm only going to need a little bit. Because it's a pearl one, you do need a bit more than you do with the non-pearl ones. Again, that should be enough. You do want the paste for this to be fairly opaque on all of the colours, really. There we are, that'll do. That's opaque enough for that one, I think. You want them, they don't necessarily need to be 100% opaque because I've painted the boards white, but they want to be mostly. The white definitely wants to be totally opaque. And then we're going to go for this lovely pale blue. This is from Create and Bloom, and it's called Cloudy Days. And this one is the one that's going to pretty much dictate the colours on these. I think this will be such a beautiful pale pearly blue. Can you see that? There we go. So that's our benchmark shade of blue. What I've noticed with these particular, in fact I'll put a bit more resin in that. What I've noticed about these colours from Create and Bloom is that they don't blob. I think we've probably all had cheaper mica powders that blob. You know what I mean? You get little bursts of the powder that don't mix in properly. These mix really, really well. Oop, got some resin there, haven't there? Next one, and this is a real pale one, is, well, subtle, let's say, not pale. Welsh slate. It's like a bluish grey, which I haven't even opened yet, look. So first of all, let's break into it. Look at that. Lovely. I'll say it's like a bluish grey, and I've made a right mess again. So these are all pigment pastes that I'm using here. So they're all pretty intense, and you know, the colours strong and so on. If you don't have pigment pastes, then by all means use your resin dyes or whatever. Well, obviously some of these are mica powders as well. Look at that, isn't that gorgeous? That's so subtle. Finally, what do I need? I've got, yeah, what else have we got? Let's put that away. Beautiful colour. Is that going to be enough? That might actually be enough, because I've got the silver as well. So let's get the silver made up. Now, has anyone not come across floating silver before? This stuff is unbelievable. I've got the gold and the bronze and I've got all the colours. Now, I'm going to just need the tiniest little bit again. Now, silver does tend to take over. The metallics all do. So, although I'm only using a little bit of the resin, I am going to put quite a lot of the pigment in it. I'll show you this stuff in a minute. It's incredible. Well, when we get onto making, you'll see what I mean. But now it just looks grey now, doesn't it? But watch what happens while it's sat in the pot. I'll leave it in the middle there, and you'll see what happens as well when I put heat on it in a minute. Right, what we're going to do now is leave these. Now this resin cures really fast and degasses really fast. You're talking, oh, I don't know. I mean, if it's in a mould, you can demould it in 2 hours, which is just ludicrous, isn't it? I do need to let it thicken even more than it is now. So what we're going to do is we are just going to walk off and leave this just for 15-20 minutes, because it is such a strong resin to start with. It's so thick. These have been sat for a bit, and look what the silver's done. The silver has floated, and we have this extreme metallic. Fabulous, isn't it? And this is because whilst I do want the colours to get up and around it, I don't necessarily want them to go underneath it. If they do a little bit, so be it. So I'm not trying to build a solid barrier. Sometimes I will do, but not always. So this is just like a bit of a preventative wall, and I'm not worrying about those drips. And so this is where I need to start moving a bit more quickly, because what I haven't done is put the other sparkle in that I was going to show you how to do it once you're onto the board. Stupid woman. So yeah, need to get a bit of a wiggle on now. Right, now I'm going to put some UV resin. So we're going to have a little bit of crystal over here, and we're just going to have a little bit of crystal over here. And that may be enough. I might put a little bit down here as well, because this one's quite big, isn't it? And we're going to go in again with our chunky. And this is where I'm going to get my tweezers on the go, because the chunky bits, that's easier, I think. Notice in these little kits, you've probably got enough to do quite a few geodes. I'm certainly going to get 2 good size ones out of these bags and probably have a bit left over. Oh, that's a nice piece. And I'm going to put the next size bits in as well. So just a few little bits like this. And these are the Crystal AB ones. You know, some of you might find this easier. Either method works perfectly. So, you know, don't fret. Do whichever works for you. So working our way down the sizes again. And I'm going to put a bit more of the UV resin over. We're just basically building these up in exactly the same way as we did with our, how would you describe it? A non-something. You know what I mean? The ones that were made in the in that mould. the freeform ones. That's kind of the word, is it? Freeform. What I am going to do is not put the that fine glass on yet, because I think, you know, the little glass sparkles, because I think I'm going to wait till the end to put a final coat of those in everywhere. So what we're doing now is just getting a little paintbrush, brushing them into position. Could use your stirring stick to do this, of course, but any that have gone a little bit astray, just going to tidy them up a bit. There we are. And actually I am going to put a little bit more around our pre-made one. Pre-made, that's the word, isn't it? We're going to lose some of these in amongst the resin. I know we are, but they will reappear when we need them to. Okay, just going to cure those off, because of course there's UV resin in there. Right, we're going to start to play with the colours now. And as I have put clear around those pre-made ones first, we're going to do the same with these little guys. Now, because I've done these actually straight onto the board, there should be quite a layer of the actual UV resin around the edges as well, causing a bit of like a dam around them. But let's get the clear in anyway. And then I think next I'm going to get in some of the colours. We'll leave the metallic till quite towards the end, really. What I want around that sparkle initially, I think, is going to be white. And as you can see, I can squash my little pot and we can do quite a dainty little pour, like so. And we're going to flow all the way around all of them in the same way. A bit more there. In fact, I think I'll put a bit more on this one because it's quite a big piece, this, isn't it? Now, because we left the resin for a little while before we got crack on and do this, then of course it has all thickened up, which should help it to stay a little bit separate with the colours. Obviously you want a bit of natural blending, and that will happen as well, dribbling over the sides, which is mildly annoying. But it will at least sort of stay in place a bit. That's the plan. Right, next I think we want our pearly mica one. And I'm deliberately putting this next to the white because I want this all to be quite light, and I do think it's got the potential to be darker than I intended, because this mica is quite a strong colour. Even though it's pale and pretty, it's still quite strong. If you don't want bits where they shouldn't, just wipe off the side of your little pot in between pours. But I've got a bit over there, doesn't matter, I'm not too worried. And I've just realised I don't think this little board is particularly level. No, it's not. Let me sort that out. You do need them level, she says, having just had it not level. So what I'm doing is I'm pouring close to, sometimes touching, the edge of the previous colour. Getting down to the bottom of this now, but not onto it. And I hope in that way, because the resin is thickened up quite a bit already, you will get a bit of a nice soft edge, little bit of a blend, but it will still be two distinct colours, if that makes any sort of sense whatsoever. And next I will be going in with, what should we go with next? I think the other bluey colour, which I might want more of, I don't know. And I'm thinking it's too dark. I love it, but it's too dark, because I wanted this to be quite light and frosty, and that just isn't, is it? So let's see if that's enough to bring that colour down. It's coming. A bit more, I think, though. I think I want really, really pale. It's gorgeous colour. Yeah, that's nice. Really pale. I'm sure one of my other colours probably was this colour. I'm sure there was a paler one in my set. Anyway, it's nice to have a mix, isn't it? Have a bit of a mix and a play. Yeah, there we go. I've got so many colours this, I probably had already got that colour. But it's good to see you can mix it, isn't it? And in we go again. I'm getting quite close to the edges here. Now the only thing is, if it pours over the edges, you'll get the pattern of the movement of the resin start to distort, which is a bit of a shame. So yeah, I'm going to try not to go over the edges, but it might. Having said this is so thick now that the surface tension might keep it in check. We'll see. But can you see what I'm doing? I'm kind of going pearly colour to not pearly. And I'll go back again in a moment. And yep, I've dripped. There we are. So our next one, as you probably guess, we're going in with the pearly again. You can move faster. Faster gets thinner lines. You could use a syringe or a pipette or something like that to put your colours in if you find that easier to control, or want finer lines so that you can do smaller pieces. Now what I'm doing here is I'm going a bit thicker lines around the areas where there's more space to fill, and you will find the pearl colours can take over a little bit as well. So now we're just going to go background with a bit of this, bit of that, and definitely some more white. White kind of brings out the details, and of course we will be putting details in at the end as well, and finishing off our crystal bits, because there's definitely more sparkle to be had there, isn't there? Now these are going to be a gift for a very special friend of mine who's been helping me with my YouTube journey right from day one. So Jenna, these will be in the post on the way to you, particularly as you have the inconvenience of having your birthday and Christmas so darn close together. So special little gift box on its way as a thank you for all of your help over these 2 years of my YouTube journey. So what I'm trying to do now is just get a final ring of the white on this little guy. I'm going to go through the centre as well, like so. And we have got this big area of void at the end. I'm just going to leave that, I think. I'm going to see where it spreads to. And a bit more white around this one. I always feel like you need quite a lot of white in geodes. Is it just me? Yeah, let's mix a bit more up. And this is why I keep some clear back, because this tends to happen. You don't really know how much more of any given colour you're going to need until you start to see how it settles and how the patterns go. Now I'll show you what I'll do about these where it hasn't quite met the edges. I'll show you in a minute. But I'm just going to give it a second to see how it spreads. If it spreads. Right, so we've got a bit more white mixed up. And as we're coming into the end of 2024, there's a few more thanks I have to make. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the lovely people at Crafty YouTubers United. We've formed such an amazing little community, and it's just been such a delight to work with you all and to make so many lovely new friends. There's some such talented people as well. It's everything I wanted it to be. It's become such a moral support group and such a lovely little gang. It's just awesome. Is gang the right word? Probably not. Group. Clan. I don't know what you call it. But they're just ace. Wonderful, wonderful people, and I'm so lucky to know you all. The other people, part of that group actually, is John. Some of you may know him as JD Dubber in many people's chats. He's always there, always supportive. He's been the moderator on my YouTube for a while now. And, you know, again, appreciate very much your friendship, John, and all the moral support and everything else, and everything you do. The other one is Julia, who is now also a moderator on my YouTube channel. Awesome friend, as many are as well. I'm not going to mention everybody by name because there's just too many of you, and I know I'll forget somebody and somebody will get upset. But you know who you are. I hope you do anyway. Another big thanks of the year obviously has to go to my suppliers, some of whom I feel have become actual friends now. It's got to the point with some of the suppliers, supporters, sponsors, that they have become more than that, and you know, I feel like they're becoming friends, and that is just amazing. I really did not expect that. So the suppliers who have gone that extra mile with me, thank you. Oh, I don't know who else I've got to thank. I suppose my biggest thank has to be to all of you lot for sticking with me, for watching me, supporting me. It's just been an incredible journey. And I still owe a huge thanks to some of the other bigger craft channels that helped me early days. I'll always be grateful to Claire's Crafty Corner, Daniel Cooper, Wendy at Toonpish, who still supports me. Awesome people. And, you know, I wouldn't have got this off the ground without that support, which I didn't expect and appreciated probably more than they'll ever know. God, this has got a bit gushing, hasn't it? I'm going to cry. No, I'm not going to cry. Don't be silly. 2 years in, blimey, a lot's happened. Now, back to my little geode things. Now, as you can see, this one has started to go over the edges in places, and the only problem with that is it pulls the patterns of the resin off. Obviously, we've got the back protected, so any drips are, and the sides, so any drips aren't going to be an issue, but it does start to pull the colours off the side, which I don't want. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take a tiny little bit more of whichever colour I think is right, and just touch it to the edges like so. And hoping that the surface tension will keep it there really. So once this is cured, I'll show you the next stage, and we will of course be finishing off our textured areas, because I think they need to be a lot chunkier, don't you? I think where it's going off the sides, I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it. What I'm going to do now is give it a quick torch. Now, I'm not going to be spritzing it with alcohol because I don't want to break that surface tension. I am not going to be blowing it around because I don't want to blow it around. I want these colours to kind of stay separate. Now, obviously torching it is not only shifting any bubbles, but it is going to thin it slightly, so it will move a little bit. And the final thing that is to go in, of course, is this crazy silver. Now, I'm going to just grab a bit of this on the end of my stick and drizzle it lightly into the area around where the crystals are, in like a bit of a sweep. Now this bit definitely would be a lot easier with a pipette. I'm just letting it drop off my stick like so. The reason I'm putting this in last is because I kind of want it to ride up a little bit onto the crystals. I want it to sit on the top. Does that make sense? We'll be doing more detailing with this stuff later, by the way. I'll show you how. Like I said, the metallics do tend to take over, so don't get too mad. And I'm not worrying if I'm getting it up onto the rocks in places. That's all okay too. Rocks, you know what I mean, the glass. I think I might just run a little line of silver through here too, just a little bit, like that. There. Same here. It is dripping off the edges, so it is going to pull on this one. I can see that. Does it matter? I don't think it does, because it's not doing it all over. It's just done it in a couple of places. What you can do, of course, is get some tape and make a wall around it, so that can't happen. But I am kind of content for it to happen a little bit, because it's those bits that are less controllable, I think, that make it more kind of organic looking. So again, just a little bit of the silver in amongst the other colours to bring it all in together. Yeah, so can you see what I mean about the where it's dripping? It's literally pulling rather than carrying the line on round like this. Now what you can do, if this bothers you, I actually don't mind it because it's just that one area, but what you can do is come back later and do a bit of tidying up, actually, if you really want to. Just give it 20 minutes. I'm going to see how this settles, and in the meantime I'm going to chuck all this surplus resin into something and make sure I've got lids on everything so I don't make a mess. I'll have a clean up and I'll see you in a bit. It has only been half an hour, but because this stuff cures so quickly, I've come back to check on it. And I'm thinking on whether I am bothered about these bits that have run round off the edge, and I think I am. So all I'm going to do, as you can see here, is bring it back round like that. I mean, this is so thick now, it should stay put. That's the theory. Anyway, we'll see. But I'm just going to try and pull it to where I want it to go. And I did get some drip runoff over here, and it's got all over my paintbrush. So I have some cleanup to do. So I'll get my gloves and do some cleanup in a minute, because at the moment, because I didn't think I was going to be touching the resin, I haven't got my gloves on. As you can see, I haven't quite, this is all gone a bit too squarey at this end for me, so we're just going to shape it up a little bit. There we go. Let's hope that works. Right, I'm just going to have a clean up, and I will see you in probably an hour and a half, because you can see how thick this has got now. It should be ready to, yeah, ready to finish off our crystally bits and start putting some details in within a couple of hours. See you later. Right, well, I think you'll agree these are looking rather pretty. I have got that lovely pale icy effect that I was after. Anyway, we're now going to put some finer details in. And the first thing I'm going to do is get a white acrylic marker pen. See, we can drop them off these pots now, can't we? I'm not going to peel the backing off just yet. Yes, there was quite a lot of overspill. I'm not going to peel the backing off just yet. And all we're going to do is follow some of the colours around. And it can go through, can actually go through the colours in places. Yeah, just go with the flow. As you can see, this is a brush tip one, so we can do quite substantial lines. We could make them more substantial if I wanted, but that will do. We will be putting in some silver foiling details too, so this is just about really getting that little bit of extra something in there to give it a bit more structure. And I think that'll do for the white on that one. This is all sticking to my mat. Peel these blobs off. Okay. By the way, did you know you could do that with resin? You've now got resin putty. Now, I should have gloves on doing this, so back in a moment because I am going to clean my hands. There we go. Gloves as well. Same process with this one. There. So that's that detail. Don't forget, we've got a couple more steps to do yet. I do want to add some silver foiling, and I do want to build up these sparkly crystal areas more. You can see how, look, how the back's still being protected. All those drips are just popping right off. Of course, we'll be pulling off the latex at the end as well. But yeah, that's how that protection has worked. And now, our next step is to get some silver around those, around our sparkles. Now, as you can see, we've got quite a lot of sparkle in there already. But what we're going to need to do is get a little bit of varnish, would you believe, and a very fine brush, and some more of the sparkle. So here's a nice fine tip little brush, and what we're going to do is put some gloss varnish in a pot. I'm not sure how much I need, so I put quite a bit. And again, we're going with our floating silver, quite a lot of it. And as you can see, that has come out really, really beautifully silvery. Now, wipe. So that is just Duraclear high gloss varnish from Deco Art. Pretty much any water-based high gloss varnish should do the job quite nicely. So whatever you've got. And all we're going to do is take a little bit of this, and we are going to paint it around the base of the crystals, going up the sides of them a little bit, maybe in amongst them a little bit. So we're just building up that silver effect around the edge of them, just that little bit. And the clear that I put in first has stopped the colours from going in amongst them. This is where you can touch in any details, any bits that you kind of missed. And you can use this to paint around your edges as well if you want afterwards. Why not? And I'm getting quite a bit on my brush here because I do want it to kind of move around a little bit. It's kind of highlighting the crystals, but it's also, because I'm getting it up the sides of the crystals a bit, it's bringing them into the design. You see, I'm not being particularly sparing with this silver. There's quite a lot going in there. And of course we've got our final sparkles to go in these bits anyway, so yeah, still more to come here. And you can see the floating property of that silver works in varnish as well. Good, isn't it? Okay, so now as this is a water-based varnish, that is not going to take long to dry, so we'll be able to get in with our last layer of sparkles next. Now what I could do is also draw some detail with this, but I'm actually feeling inclined to do my usual foiling trick for the silver, because you'll get it even more silver then. But watch what happens. I don't know if you'll be able to see. Let's have a look. You see how the it's forcing the silver to float up even quicker and more. So we're going to leave that half an hour, let that dry. I made up way more than I needed, didn't I? I wonder. Maybe we should do a bit of detailing with this. Yeah, there's a danger of overdoing it, isn't there? And I am going to be going in with a foiling later, but you could. So let's just say we're having a look to see if that is a thing. And it is. So we're back in half an hour or so, and the next layer really is going to be the finishing off the crystals. And then, of course, we have got to put in the foil bits. Might do a flood coat. Might do a shallow flood coat, actually. But yeah, one thing's for sure, we need to let that varnish dry first. Right, this has had loads of time to cure now because I ran out of time, so this has actually been setting up overnight, which is great. I thought you'd like to see what came out of my, where I put the leftovers. There we go. It's one of the Into resin moulds, if anybody's interested. Right, now let's move on. We're going to get some foil on here next. So we've got a couple of extra things left to do, and this is one of them, and it's putting the detailing in. I'm still wondering whether I need to put a flood coat over the top of this or not. I may or may not, I don't know. Now this, if you haven't come across it before, is called, how do you say it? Miction. Miction. In Britain I'd say Miction, I think. Relief paste. Anyway, from Pebeo. And all we're going to do is draw on here with it, and it's a form of glue. So I'm going to follow some of the lines around, and this is going to be something that we will stick our foil onto. Simple as that. Now can you see as well, overnight, where that varnish has really dried properly, the silver has really come up around the pieces, around the crystally bits. The crystally bits, by the way, finishing those off will be our very last step. I'm a bit busy in the middle here, so I'm just going to go straight across. So these lines will ultimately be mirror finish silver, and I'm keeping them very, very fine. Trying to decide where to put them in places. This stuff's, it's surprisingly easy to use. People have asked me how fiddly it is because it's obviously you're squeezing out of a fine tube, and honestly I'm surprised just how easy it is. I've not yet succeeded in writing neatly with it though. I haven't quite got that far. The danger of ending up with too much detail, so I'm going to stop there with that one. Similar exercise with this one. Now I hadn't gone quite so mad with the lines on this one anyway, and I'm just going to join them up to the white lines in the middle because again that's an area where it's getting rather too busy for my liking. So we're just going to join up to the white there. Oh, actually let's go along the white. That's it, so the white will become silver there. And go around the edge of where that silver is. I think that will do. Like I said, there's a danger of doing too much. Right, we need to let that dry now. It'll go clear, and then we will be laying down our silver foil onto it. You can probably see that's gone clear. You see some of these lines? Oh, you'll see it better once the foil's on. So we put the foil matte side down because, and I can't remember where my lines are, so I'm just going to have to go all over like this. But we're putting it matte side down because obviously we want the shiny side up, and that is where and this side is actually like a transfer film. So we can just go all over, gently rubbing like that. And we should find, ta-da, beautiful silver lines. Now, of course, you could create these with glitter glue instead, or just go in with a metallic marker, or whatever takes your fancy. I just like this because it's the only way I found to get like a complete, very fine line and mirror finish, but you might not want the lines this fine. I just did for this particular project. What's going on here? There's a big bit there. Oh, you know what, that can stay. I don't know how that happened. A not so fine line. This stuff's brilliant, isn't it? I really wish Pebeo did affiliate deals so that I could get some discounts for you all. It's one of the firms that doesn't seem to, and yeah. I still recommend it to you anyway. Is that all of it? I think that's all of it. So look at that extra bit of silver detail. Isn't that nice? Could do the edges with flourish paste, couldn't I? That would be nice. I'll open it up in a second and we can have a think. Let me know what you thought in the comments below as well, can't you? Coming on nicely. Right, shall we have a look at this flourish paste? It's pretty amazing stuff. It's a product I'd not come across until a couple of months ago, if that even. It's certainly a new one to me. And it is like a sparkly mica paste stuff. Don't quite know how to describe it to you, to be honest. But what I'm going to do is just stir it up, because it does settle. I like this so much, I bought another couple of pots of it. I've got all the colours that are currently available. And I've got another pot of this white. And that's it, look, it's like a really thick sparkly paste. And it cures really quickly. It's not resin. I think I am going to put just a little bit in some places. There we go. Just around the edges. Just add a bit of extra texture. And you can use it for all sorts of things. I've been using it for filling in the centres, the details on, you know, the very detailed mould. You can rub it into the nooks and crannies, and then just wait for it to, you know, rub off the surplus and leave it to cure. It's even a job to get it off your hands, off the mat. It really sticks. It is not going to scratch off under any circumstances, trust me. I've tried. And it sets kind of a little bit 3D-ish. If you want it to, that is. Let's see if I can get it off with a wonder wipe. Look at this. You see, I should have gloves on, shouldn't I? It's a devil to get off. It really is. It sticks so well. Again, it's from Create and Bloom, but this is exactly what I think. It comes into its own, and that is actually enhancing my sparkly bits nicely. So, yes, we will carry on. We'll do a bit more. It's just adding a little bit more texture, and then a little bit more sparkles if we hadn't got enough already. I think that might do, actually. Just any bits where there isn't quite, but I want a little bit of an extra something. I do love this stuff. But yeah, I've got it in a number of colours now, so watch this space. I should be using it for a lot of things. Look at that colour. I thought about using that on this, but I thought, no, I don't want to go any deeper. And yeah, I've got a kind of odd bit there where my foiling got a bit carried away, but I am going to leave that in. Now, the final step before we do, I think I probably will do a bit of a flood coat. I'm not sure. Anyway, the final step before that, if I do, is to get some more sparkle in here. So we're going to get just these little glass shards. Do we need any more bulk to this though? I think we might do. So let's get the rest of our smaller glass pieces, and we're going to do what we were doing before. We're just going to put some more into here. Well, this has already got a lot of sparkle, so with this one we're just going to put the ones, you know, the original ones we did off board. We're going to just put a little bit more of this diamond glass on that. But these bigger ones, these ones that I did, well, they were on the board, obviously. I didn't get as far as putting the finer bits in. So let's do that. Some of these will probably stick in that flourish paste. That's okay. A little bit along this side here. Although I think the flourish paste will probably stick it quite well anyway. So we're just chucking some of this on, just to give it that finer texture. So I'm going along the edge of that flourish paste there as well. Okay, so that's that one, and these little AB crystal ones. Now I'm going to let that all cure up with my ultraviolet, so we're back in a moment. So that's pretty much cured up. So we're just going to go in now with that diamond glass. And of course I do need to allow the flourish paste to cure. And I'm going to put a bit more of the diamond glass in the sections that were made before we put them on the board, just to finish them off as well. So we're going to have some all over the place. I have to say, I think the easiest is to do your pieces, your sparkle pieces, your actual, you know, your stones and such, on the board. However, doing them off the board in an old silicone mould is hellishly good fun. So although this is easier doing them on the board, because you can see what shapes you want and where you want them and so on, I still love doing it the other way. Right, I think I got everything. So as you can see from this, even with the extra building up that I'm doing now, there is enough in my little kit, if I go with this size kit, to do quite a lot. It goes a long way. But as I said earlier, when I do put them in my store, if there are any variations you want, to these kits. You know, maybe you want more of the big stuff, more of the small stuff, whatever, or a little bit of a colour tint in some of it. I can do that too. You just need to drop me an email. Anyway, these will be in store soon. The boards were from Just For You Online, as was the resin, and some of the colours, the rest of the colours are from Create and Bloom. So there will be links for everything down in the video description below. I'm going to let that flourish paste cure, then we'll come back and do a flood coat, and I think we'll be there then, and we can have our final look, and of course take that latex off the back. See you later. Right, that's all cured. Just shaking the surplus off and we can have a look. Do I flood coat? You know, I don't think I do. I think that's shiny enough as it is, and I like the fact that some bits aren't shiny. So, let's get rid of all the... This is the surplus. I've given them a shake. Just going to give them a little brush as well. Now, I don't think I'm going to do that flood coat that I mentioned. If you find you do, it's just a case of coating it like you would a coaster. Just don't cover over the crystals. But I quite like the fact that I've got some bits that are like kind of satiny finish rather than shiny. So that's entirely up to you. You could flood coat or you might not. Right, let's have a close look. Have we got enough sparkle there? And let's get this latex off the back. Getting it started is the tricky bit. And this is where very often something like a weeding tool for your Cricut machine will come in handy. Or a sharp knife. I'm going to go for the weeding tool. There we go. Once we've got it started, we can just pull, which is great fun. You see it's all nice and stretchy. I've got the edges to pull off as well, so we'll do that in a moment. There we go. Nice and easy, really clean finish. Now I know a lot of people are going to prefer to go the tape route, but for an awkward shape, I think this is probably easier. Thinking good fun. Look at that. Doink. Right, and any bits that are still left on the back, you'll find that they have lifted because the latex had been underneath them. So they will just pop off. And of course there's latex around the edges as well. So we'll just get that off in a moment. Just loosening it off. And here we go around the edges. So yes, this then begs the question, what do I do with the edges? Now there's a couple of choices. I could go around this with a resin edging pen. I could go around it with bloom paste. Still thinking on that. I might go the bloom paste route actually. Takes a wee bit longer, only a little bit longer, because you just could wait for it to dry, that's all, but it doesn't take long. It's just, I think it would give a nice shimmery edge to it, so I think we'll go that route. This is just where the latex has got a bit more stubborn, because there is resin over it. But it should just snap away. And there we are. I think that's it. There we are. Spotlessly clean edge. That's a bit I missed. Look, there we are. There we go. We've got a nice clean edge. I think I've got all of the latex off. I have a bit more cleaning up to do in a moment. Just do the same with this one. There we go. Just cleaning off the latex. And as you can see, we've got nice clean edges. Nice clean back. Perfect. Now, you could, of course, do these edges with your resin edging pens, whatever shiny markers you use to do that with. I use the actual resin edging pens, you know, the branded as such ones. So you could do that. You could leave them as they are. Or, I think I'm going to go around with my bloom paste. A little bit doesn't want to come off. There it is. So there. Nice clean edges. Right, I'm going to have a clean up and we'll get the bloom paste on the go. Okay, so that's it. Edges and back, all lovely and clean. I'm going to do bloom paste around the edges, and this is how we're going to do it. And this is where you can have some really good messy fun if you want. I'm going to take a dollop, like so, and I'm going to go, I'm going to pat it around the edges. And you should end up with a kind of a textured look to it. You don't need much. And again, yeah, as I said earlier, it will not come off. This stuff sticks like crazy, and it, yeah, doesn't take too long to dry either. So we're just going to go around the edge of both of them. I hope you're enjoying this video, folks. We're nearly there. We're nearly done. and yeah, it's been fun for me. I do love making these. So thank you for indulging me while I make another one. The sparkle kit, including those, I think there's 5 bags, aren't there, of the texture glass, and it is all glass. So that it will be in my store sometime in January. Keep an eye open on my community tab in YouTube, because I will put word out on there once it's available. Basically, I need to sort out the packaging and just crack on with it, really. I've got a few packs made up already. They are pretty much good to go, and I've got a big stock in. There we are. So yeah, so we should be good for a while with the crystal kits. They're not crystals, before anybody asks. They are just glass. They just look a bit crystally. And there we go. See what I mean? Nice sort of textured, shimmery edging that I think goes rather well with the geode effect. Just going to pop that down there, and that'll probably get all over my mat again and be a devil to get off again. We're just going to do the other one. Now, if you like this video, folks, I've done a few like this. In fact, I've got a whole playlist on making crystals, geodes and the like, so I will put you the link coming up on screen at the end of this video. So do take a look at that, because I am sure that will appeal to you as well. In the meantime, happy Christmas everyone, happy New Year, happy whatever it is where you are. It's Friday here. Happy Friday, and I shall see you for the next video. Take care everyone, and hang in there for some nice close-ups at the end.